and BINnews.com.
Stop going it alone for recruiting and staffing. Choose a local expert. Hiring is about getting to know people, not algorithms. So let the team at Express Employment Professionals hire for you. Visit expresspros.com to find the office near you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are 3.5-point favorites over Golden State heading into Game 4 tonight at Crypto.com. A win tonight gives the Lakers a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7 Western Conference semifinals. All eyes will again be on Anthony Davis to see if he can put together back-to-back dominant games. AD had 25 points and 13 rebounds Saturday in Game 3. Tip-off tonight is 7 on TNT. Two other series in the NBA playoffs are tied up at 2-2. James Harden hit a three-pointer with 18 seconds left in overtime to help Philadelphia hang on for a 1-point win over the Celtics. Game 5 is Tuesday in Boston. Despite 53 points from Denver center Nikola Jokic, Phoenix wins by 5 to even their series, 36 each for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Game 5 is Tuesday in Denver. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America.
The story of Emmett Till and his mother is a story of a family's promise and loss and a nation's reckoning with hate, violence, and abuse of power. It's a story that was seared into our memory and our conscience, the nation's conscience, when Mrs. Till insisted that an open casket for her murdered and maimed 14-year-old son. She said, "Let the people see what I've seen." The reason the world saw what she saw was because of another hero in this story, the black press. Jet Magazine, the Chicago Defender, and other black radio and newspapers were unflinching and brave in making sure America saw what she saw. Ida B. Wells once said, and I quote, "The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon the wrongs."
Turning the light of truth upon the wrongs. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
I see the people. You know I got the Jones for my own Rashida. Can you put me on with the Nagarita? She stay on my dome, she gon' pull on me, pull like weed, entice me. She my queen. Yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. She my queen.
Yeah, Santiwa. Who's your queen? KBLA Talk 1580. We got a queen of knowledge, a queen of intelligence, a queen on the phone. She's one of our top civil rights lawyers, an author, a public intellectual, known for fighting systemic inequity, inequality, and coalition lawsuits that have helped millions in poor neighborhoods. The cases she's led have won over $10 billion in monetary damages and policy changes, including the largest civil rights settlement in U.S. history in the Bus Riders Union versus MTA class action lawsuit. Attorney Connie Rice, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm good. I'm always excited when you're coming on the show because I know I'm going to end up smarter than I started the conversation.
Well, I don't know. There are no coronations here, but
no.
I'll try to make sense of a world that's being put in a blender, right?
Well, let me tell you something. If you were getting coronated, it would be because you earned it. It wouldn't be because you slept with some guy while he was still married to somebody else and then weaseled your way into the British press and rebranded yourself on the world stage. It wouldn't be that. It would be because you earned it.
Oh, you're kind. Oh, what's on your mind?
Well, a lot is on my mind. I think that, it's interesting. We were talking off the air, and when we look at so many things that are happening on a state-by-state basis with what Republicans are doing in state houses when it comes to voting, when it comes to women's right to make their own decisions about their bodies. It does seem like it's about how they can maintain power even though they're not winning elections, even though they don't have the votes. They don't win the popular vote. Even, what we saw in Tennessee where they're just going to kick. Kentucky, where they're just going to kick these guys out that were elected, right? And so that's when we talk about the end of democracy, we're not just talking about Donald Trump, the big lie, cheating on elections. What we're talking about, it seems increasingly as people of color become a bigger and progressives become a bigger slice of who our country is, they're finding ways to control policy anyway. And the Supreme Court is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, what we're seeing is they're structuring the tyranny of the minority. And what I mean by that is Republicans cannot win with democracy, one person, one vote. They can't win the elections that way because it's kind of hard to sell to folks, look, we know we funneled all this money up to the rich since Reagan. It's $50 trillion from poor, working class, and middle class pockets into the pockets of the 1% for the last 60-something years. We know we've done that. We know we don't want you to have health care, Social Security, any kind of viable education. We don't want people of color, changing the demography. We don't want any of that. That's kind of hard to sell to people who really do think the government ought to serve the masses. So what they have to do is they have to create a new system, and that's what we're seeing. They have decided if democracy doesn't work, if democracy yielded the first black president, the system isn't working as it was designed, and we are going to change it. We're no longer going to believe in democracy. We are not going to support the Madisonian framework that we've had for 230 years. We are done. If we can't maintain our power through democracy, we will end the democracy. So that's what you're seeing with the gerrymandering, with the sort of toxic gerrymandering that actually lets the minority rule. You're seeing it in the structures of the Electoral College. You're seeing it in how if they can't suppress black votes and the votes of young people and the votes of women, what they will do is they won't count the votes. They'll get rid of the drop boxes. They'll make the line so long nobody will wait 5 hours to vote. Then, if they lose the election even after all that, they'll simply declare fraud and do fraudits and then throw out they will not allow free and fair elections. They will not allow one person, one vote. So we need to understand what's going on here at that sort of 10,000-foot level. They can't. That's you wonder why you go into Fox News and they're talking about Putin's good. They want autocrats because they think that they can't win through democracy, so they're going to do autocracy. They're going to do strongman rule. And what we don't understand, I think what our side doesn't understand, if you do want the Madisonian framework, because, Dominique, you and I both know, African Americans have never experienced democracy in this country.
Right.
Frankly, what we have is a framework of perfectibility. We have a framework in which you can battle to get incremental rights. We've gone from slavery. We managed to end legal apartheid. They reinstituted slavery light and Jim Crow, fought that. So there's a framework that allows us to at least claw our way into a system that we think is worth having. Although Martin Luther King Jr. said we're integrating into a burning house. He said we have to become firefighters. So we're firefighting our way and trying to perfect a system that was never designed for anybody but wealthy white men from the beginning. And over time, but the point is, if you lose that framework, if you lose that Madisonian framework where we're fighting to create a democracy, James Baldwin called it achieving America. We have invested, African Americans have invested in forcing this country to become what its ideals on paper say. But if you lose that paper, if you terminate the Constitution, as Donald Trump suggested, that leaves us with absolutely nothing to fight with, and we can't win without that framework. So it's a scary time to watch all these shenanigans. And what we have is a Democratic Party that thinks it's still, they still think Jack Kemp and Bob Dole are alive. There is no, somebody needs to tell Biden Kemp died.
Yeah, and someone needs to tell him bipartisanship died too. But I think that's a great point, because there are a lot of folks who are critical of the Constitution, and I get that. I mean, obviously, we were 3/5 of a person. Well, black men were 3/5 of a person. I don't know what we were, but it is sort of it's the promise that we rely on to kind of hold America accountable. It's the ideal. There are ideals in there that are worthwhile. And whereas with an autocrat, I guess, you can just pay the guy. And if you're the very rich, then you guarantee yourself control by being able to pay one dictator or one autocrat, or basically have a low-key oligarchy.
Yeah, if you don't have at least the promise of a multiracial democracy, because that is what we're striving for. That's what Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision was. Even Du Bois, Baldwin despaired that we would never have it, but that's what everybody marched and died for. That's what our ancestors and we are the hope and the dream of the slave, as Maya Angelou used to say. That's what we have all been striving for: the simple right to live free with decent treatment and equal treatment and opportunity. I mean, that's what we're fighting for our kids. That's what all other Americans are fighting for, except the Americans who have decided that power means having power for themselves and the power to deny rights to everybody else.
It's interesting.
That's what we're up against.
That you put Du Bois in that, because Du Bois was a communist.
Yeah, he was. He still wanted freedom and decency. He may have wanted it under another economic system.
Right.
No, I'm not debating
like
the
Bernie,
system, capitalist system.
Right. Well, like Bernie Sanders. I'm like my own dad, who was a communist as well.
Yes, and I've got relatives too who are in it, and they are not wrong. They are not wrong. But in this country, what we have, let me put it this way: I don't really care what kind of economic system you have. It can be corrupted to benefit the few.
Right.
Look at what happened with the Soviet Union. They totally bankrupted that country, and the folks at the head of the party had dachas and yachts and all kinds of.
Look
stuff.
at China.
So,
yeah.
Look at China, and they're elite. So whether you have capitalism or whether you have communism or whether you have socialism, social democrat systems seem to do the best for the most people.
Agreed.
And Bernie Sanders sings in the key of my soul.
Same.
But the politics, the politics just not there. But the other thing is capitalism. If you harness it, and this was King's vision of a kind of human-centered capitalism that focused on making sure that you maximize the benefits to human beings as opposed to exploiting human beings. He had a vision of regulated capitalism that generated wealth from the bottom up. And for a minute, you saw globalized capitalism actually end extreme poverty in third world countries at a rate that no charity, no progressive policies ever did. I mean, almost to scale. Looking at India and Bangladesh, and so it was very interesting looking at that the 8 years or so where globalized capitalism, before the pirates got a hold of it. Because right now, what scares me is that, we've gone from under totalitarianism in America, which is what slavery was. Africans and African Americans, we lived under a totalitarian chattel slavery system. That's the total exploitation of human beings, and is willing to incorporate death. I call it necrocapitalism or casket capitalism. Well, we went from that to the New Deal and on and on to much more enlightened forms of capitalism, if you want. But in the last 20 years, we've gone vulture capitalism, casino capitalism that tanked the economy and took homes away from millions of Americans, totally broke the economy for the middle class. You've gone from casino capitalism, just to pirate capitalism, the hedge funds folks. What used to be illegal is now policy on Wall Street because they've bought the politicians and they've bought the political systems. But now, Dominique, what I'm seeing is we've returned to necrocapitalism. We've returned to the cost-benefit analysis that says X number of people are going to die and we don't care because our money's more important. Greed on steroids. That's what you saw with Palestine, Ohio, that train wreck.
That's what you're seeing with the child labor situation. Republicans trying to legalize child labor, and we already know kids are dying in these factories.
Child labor, children dying, and they shouldn't even be working there.
Right, hello.
Traumatizing children, sending immigrant workers back into a COVID hotspot poultry factory, and not only letting the workers die of COVID without the protection, the protective equipment, but then, Dominique, the GOP changed the immunity rules so that after the company kills the father of the family can't even sue. So they've bought the political system, and we now have what I call an oligarchy. So I think the Democrats are afraid to call the fight that we're in what it is. They want to pretend that we're still. It's kind of like, they're bringing a wrench and pliers to fix a Tesla. And it's about code. It's not. They're not in the right frame. The game has gotten away from them, and they don't understand. You can't start citing policy. $34 for insulin. We passed this bill, we passed that bill. That's policy. Those are great policy achievements, legislative achievements. But you want to know something? Culture wars eat policy for breakfast.
Yeah.
And the Democrats have got to figure out a way to talk about, if you want your kids dumber, meaner, hungrier, sicker, poorer, and deader, vote for these people. Because they want a machine gun, they want rights for machine guns. They want women to die in pregnancy.
Right.
They want forced birth for raped 10-year-olds. They've got to bring it. They've got to bring, and if you want insurrection, these people are pledging their allegiance to the people who killed cops on the steps of the Capitol building. If you can't get that specific and that pointed to tell people, these folks are crazy. They're not Republicans. They are radicalized democracy destructors. And you better, right now, hold your nose and vote for the Democrats, because we're trying to say that we can fight about policy later, but you let these guys get in, they're going to terminate the Constitution. They're going to have barefoot and pregnant states for women. You can forget about any progress.
Talking with attorney Connie Rice. You're welcome to join the conversation. Always love that. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. K-O! And we don't black down.
Women, a career in wildland firefighting can be that career, one that has purpose, meaning, and strong pay. If you are a young adult who hasn't turned 26 or a U.S. military veteran under 30, then you can get paid to train as a wildland firefighter in the California Conservation Corps. Through just 1 year in the CCC, you can earn the hands-on experience and the industry-recognized certifications needed to start your career as a wildland firefighter. The CCC is the state of California government department that partners with CAL FIRE and federal agencies. They can be your direct path to a wildland firefighting career. You have to be in shape, ready for both the physical and mental challenge, which you know you can do. Firefighting is not a man's job, it's your job, your career. Get paid while you train. Transform your life. Enroll in the CCC today at ccc.ca.gov. ccc.ca.gov.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Tide Power Pods have 85% more Tide.
Who needs that much more Tide?
Well, when giving your muddy dog a bath turns into you getting a mud shower. Yikes, you're gonna need more Tide. When your wine tasting becomes a wine spilling. Yeah, you're gonna need more Tide. Or if your favorite shirt is your kid's favorite napkin. Great, I'm gonna need more Tide. My mom gave me that shirt.
It's a mess out there. Tide Power Pods have 85% more Tide versus Tide Pods.
Come join us for a celebration of community, culture, and healing at the I Love Myself Festival, Sunday, May 21st from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Outdoor Pavilion of the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. Yoga, meditation, food, vendors, a kids zone, and a special panelist segment featuring Samantha Smith, Dee Smoke, and Ebony Davis. Performances by Wilson, Skylar Ray, Divas of Compton, Iman Europe, Kalan For Real, and Eric Bellinger. It's all going down Sunday, May 21st at the Outdoor Pavilion of the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Let's come together for a day of fun, celebration, and healing. For more details, contact Project Pitt on social media or text 323-448-5770. The I Love Myself Festival in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month is a free event for community healing and culture. May 21st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do appreciate you more than you know. Please follow us, like us, subscribe to us and me. We're at KBLA 1580 on all the social media places, including YouTube, where I'm broadcasting live streaming right now. And I'm at DePrima Radio, DIPRIMA Radio on all the things. Author, civil rights legend, well, I'm going to say icon because I don't like people calling me a legend. Connie Rice is with us. Her book, Power Concedes Nothing, is available now wherever you get your books. Attorney Connie Rice, talking about, we started talking about what shape our government is taking, our democracy. We keep hearing our democracy is in danger, and it's become almost a cliche that means nothing. I think you're really right, though, that, and it's interesting because this is something that Congresswoman Maxine Waters has mentioned to me also, that Democrats need to do better with messaging. We need to do better. I mean, it shows you how dire it is, the fact that Biden wins, even though Republicans are winning the messaging battle. It seems to me, they're winning the messaging battle. They're winning the incremental, codification of minority rule, as you put it, the structures of minority rule. But still, Biden is the president. So what do we do? I mean, where do we go from here? You don't want to just throw up your hands and say, okay, all is lost.
No, but I think understanding why. The Democrats are in power right now, but not because of anything the Democrats are doing. They're in power. They're in power in spite of what they're doing.
Yeah.
I will say that Biden got the midterms right at the very last, 2 months before the election, where he came out with defend the democracy and defend women's rights to control their reproductive freedom after the Supreme Court ended Roe v. Wade. He did get that right. But what I want to say, what I mean by, if it weren't for the incompetence of Donald Trump, if it weren't for the extremism that you're seeing from the far right, the insurrection, if it weren't for the ending of women's rights to reproductive freedom when they ended Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court ended Roe v. Wade, you wouldn't have, the Republicans probably would have won. Here's the shocking thing to me, Dominique. After all that Trump has done, twice impeached, criminally indicted, brags about sexual assault, 6-time bankrupt. I mean, the guy has a rap sheet longer than some gang members I know, and he's competitive. You have the GOP giving thumbs up to a homicidal insurrection, and then talking about terminate the Constitution. And a poll this morning, I mean, it's an outlier poll, has got Trump beating Biden. They shouldn't even be viable. They should all be standing trial.
That's right. That is right.
So that's how strange it is. I'm looking at this and I say, why are we even talking about the possibility of this? It's not a political party. It's a storefront operation for a kind of neo-fascist white nationalism that's extreme and talking about ending the democracy. So why is that even viable? And it's probably because folks are being lied to in the media that they get. But be that as it may, we are in a very strange frame. The old rules don't work, and the Democrats don't seem to have a clue about how to engage it. They don't want to call it what it is because it'll make them seem extreme, and their brand is normal and mild, and I'm decent and so forth. And that is great. That is great. We need to support that. But that's not, you can't, I put it this way, you can't bring a policy paper to a knife fight. Okay.
Right.
So I'm just not seeing the kind of pushback. Now, I'm not a political expert. I don't run campaigns, so I might be wrong, but that's just my observation.
I mean, honestly, I think the normal centrist Biden brand is, I don't know if it's great. I think it's okay. I do think that what happens is a lot of times the centrists take the policies of progressives, they run on them because they are popular with the people if you take away the labels on them. And then we face backlash when they don't make good on those promises. So I was really pleased to see Biden at least trying to do student loan forgiveness, even, for example, even if it's probably going to be struck down by the courts, I assume. But at least he tried because he got that from Bernie. He ran on it. Then you can't turn around and abandon it. And that's what I do see centrists do a lot is they take progressive ideas that are popular, run on it, and then don't deliver.
Yeah, and that's the policy frame. And you're right. I mean, you got to back the Dems. You just because right now we're trying to keep the fascists out.
Right.
But just hold your nose and do it. But we're not in a policy frame, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
We're in a sort of knife fight over, to the death over democracy.
I mean, I understand that.
They're willing to blow buildings up. They're willing to do violent insurrections. They're willing to lie like they breathe. They're willing to do stuff that we are not willing to do is what I'm saying. And when you're not willing to get in the mud trough and roll around with the pig, you better figure out how to get everybody out of the mud trough.
Right.
And that's what I'm not seeing.
Well, yeah, but
so,
but the example there is, it's policy, but if that thing if that thing goes through and Americans get a lot of Americans get $10,000 to $20,000 of debt relief, that goes beyond policy. That's meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Just like the medicine, the diabetes medicine and insulin is a great thing.
Right.
All of that is great stuff. But if the Democrats aren't talking about getting rid of the structural fix that is rigging the playing field to make minority, the tyranny of the minority. Okay, so let me put it this way. If the Dems aren't talking about ending the filibuster, if they're not talking about really pushing back hard on gerrymandering, if they're not talking about reining in mass misinformation through the internet, if they're not talking about the structural fixes, if they're not talking about statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico, if they're not talking about enlarging the Supreme Court, since the Supreme Court has been hijacked by not conservative jurists, but by radical jurists.
Right.
They've now taken their masks off. They've taken their hoods off, and we're looking at decisions that law school professors can't explain. So, if you're not talking about big ideas about recalibrating and restructuring how the government works to block this neo-fascist move by the Republicans, you're not talking anything of substance. You're talking individual policy fights, and they're all good things to do, Kids
and to run on
should not be saddled with $50,000 worth of debt. That's ridiculous.
Connie Rice, civil rights attorney, is our guest. Continuing the conversation after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Another protest is planned today in connection to the chokehold death of an African-American homeless man in the New York City subway system. Numerous protesters were arrested Saturday for jumping onto subway tracks, halting train service at one station, while calling for charges in the death of Jordan Neely. Former Marine Daniel Penny put Neely in a chokehold on the subway after witnesses say Neely was acting erratically and making threats. In California, it's the second week of a nationwide writer's strike that's affecting scripted television shows and movies. The work stoppage by thousands of Writers Guild of America members impacted its first awards show on Sunday night. The MTV Movie and TV Awards aired as a pre-taped show rather than the initially planned ceremony from Santa Monica. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Stop going it alone for recruiting and staffing. Choose a local expert. Hiring is about getting to know people, not algorithms. So let the team at Express Employment Professionals hire for you. Visit expresspros.com to find the office near you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are 3.5-point favorites over Golden State heading into Game 4 tonight at Crypto.com. A win tonight gives the Lakers a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7 Western Conference semifinals. All eyes will again be on Anthony Davis to see if he can put together back-to-back dominant games. AD had 25 points and 13 rebounds Saturday in Game 3. Tip-off tonight is 7 on TNT. Two other series in the NBA playoffs are tied up at 2-2. James Harden hit a three-pointer with 18 seconds left in overtime to help Philadelphia hang on for a 1-point win over the Celtics. Game 5 is Tuesday in Boston. Despite 53 points from Denver center Nikola Jokic, Phoenix wins by 5 to even their series, 36 each for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Game 5 is Tuesday in Denver. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America.
The story of Emmett Till and his mother is a story of a family's promise and loss and a nation's reckoning with hate, violence, and abuse of power. It's a story that was seared into our memory and our conscience, the nation's conscience, when Mrs. Till insisted that an open casket for her murdered and maimed 14-year-old son. She said, "Let the people see what I've seen." The reason the world saw what she saw was because of another hero in this story, the black press. Jet Magazine, the Chicago Defender, and other black radio and newspapers were unflinching and brave in making sure America saw what she saw. Ida B. Wells once said, and I quote, "The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon the wrongs."
Turning the light of truth upon the wrongs. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Visit youcanbeatit.org or call 833-422-4255 to ask for medication to treat COVID-19. Sponsored by the California Department of Public Health.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
AUR, and you're talking with me, Dominique DePrima, and attorney Connie Rice, who is actually a KBLA contributor. Lucky to us. She's also earned over 50 major awards. LA Magazine called her a voice for LA's oppressed, and she's a former member of President Barack Obama's Task Force on 21st century policing, among other things. Attorney Rice, we got some folks on the phone that would like to talk with you. So let's go right to Andre calling us from Watts. Hi, Andre. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing today?
Good, good. What's on your mind? You're on with me, of course, and Attorney Connie Rice.
Boy, now, this is a coincidence. How you doing, Connie? This is Andre. I actually work with
Hey,
I was
Andre.
calling about these. How you doing?
Wow.
I was calling actually Dominique Dupree about the event Saturday that Kathy had did over in Watts. But you helped us with things like that, and I can say, while I do have you on the line, I appreciate what you do, what you've been doing for years and things like that. You just don't have people that have backbone like that no more. You definitely seeing the backbone.
Andre, back at you, because I'm telling you, Dominique, Andre has been a soldier and a defender of the gang intervention movement and a leader in that movement for how long, Andre? 40 years now?
It seemed like it, but not quite that long in the 90s. But yeah, the 90s I started, and
no,
I'm glad I did.
You are really something.
So, Connie Rice, Attorney Connie Rice, I was at the Caring Hands luncheon for Mother's Day on Saturday, and it was a beautiful event, and I asked everyone there to please call in and share their thoughts and their concerns on the show today, and I guess Andre took up the call, and that's wild that you guys know each other.
Oh, long time. Mm-hmm.
We in there, and I used to tell people, it used to be kind of a joke because sometimes I didn't understand some of the moves that Connie was making, and I was like, dang, but I know Connie, I trust Connie, and then you see it work at the end. So I just sit back, we have our conversation, but then let her work, and then you see all along what she was already thinking about to make it work better and move forward and saving these lives. So, I'm with her 200%. Anything she do or say, I'm right there with her. And I didn't get on here for Connie to tell me what I was doing. Boy, you the one, you the champion in this right here. We have so many women, even in the low-riding world, they get mad a lot of times, the guys, because I just say how strong a lot of these women are stepping up to the plate, and a lot of the men not, whether it's peer pressure or not. You have a lot of women that's really making stuff move forward, because, sometimes the men, I was hesitant when I first started into the gang intervention world because of peer pressure, even though I knew some stuff wasn't right, but I was still doing stuff that I knew wasn't right because of the peer pressure, but in my insides I knew it was wrong. So you still have a lot of that peer pressure going on right now today.
Yeah, I think Connie Rice, I'm glad you said that, Andre, because I think it's not in the bio, but it should be in the bio because, Attorney Rice, you've been a pioneer in this urban peace movement, which literally saves lives, not just in Los Angeles, all over the world, because people have replicated what has been done in Los Angeles in terms of involving the community, involving people from the neighborhoods in the intervention movement, and all of the stakeholders in creating solutions. And you were definitely are on the forefront of that.
Well, I'll tell you, what Andre's talking about the ground level, where it hits people's lives. You and I, Dominique, we're talking about the political 10,000 foot up, structural, systemic stuff. But equally important, because it's not a matter of up and down, it's a cross, it's right to left, it's a spectrum, and you got to have the systemic structural stuff right. But it doesn't matter if what folks are doing in their communities, in their neighborhoods, on their streets, isn't making things healthier, less violent, more viable, fighting back at these conditions that folks have been sort of thrown into. Ghettos and barrios are created. People don't choose to live in places where there are no grocery stores, no banks, no jobs, no opportunity, and let violence sweep through and trauma sweep through. People don't choose that, and society has structured ghettos straight from the plantations, and has sent police in there to suppress and contain what ghettos create. And what the amazing thing you find is people like Andre in those deserts, in those communities, making them better and safer, making them viable, and putting their lives on the line to protect the children from the violence. And, you go anywhere where there's deprivation, Dominique and Andre, you go anywhere there's deprivation, you're going to see what you see. You're going to see the trauma and the violence because it's just like a petri dish for it. So, Andre, no, all I did was create the political room for your movement, Bo Taylor's movement, Fred Williams' movement, Michael Garcia's movement. I mean, you guys, you like you said, look, we used to destroy our communities. Now we're going to save them. And so you pioneered this. All we did was make room for you to show the world what you could do.
I appreciate you putting that platform out there and doing it. I'm going to keep on doing it. And I tell people all the time, I don't want to die, but I'm not going to stop doing this work until I do, because somebody has to be out there. Because I still talk to people that kind of left the work because of that peer pressure and stuff on them and stepping back. But if everybody keeps stepping back, how are we really going to change the lives of these babies that's up and coming? Everybody can't keep on leaving. And you have to have somebody that has some type of knowledge of the work, and you have to be able to change with times. When we was coming up in gangbang, we didn't have social media, so that's something different. We have to fight in a different way. The drugs wasn't doing what they do. So there's so many different changes that come with it. You got to be ready to change with it and really listen to what the young people saying sometimes, not just telling them what you know from 100 years ago, and just having that open ear, like I learned from you. That's how it works, and you always have, and that's what I tell people when I'm speaking on you all the time. You listen, what's going on and this and that, and you make it palatable for the other people that we don't talk to and deal with and stuff like that. We give it to you raw and uncut, and then you make it palatable for them to understand what we're trying to say.
Andre, appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Call me again. Let's keep talking. Man, Connie knows everybody. Let's go to Dwight from the city of Compton. Good morning, Dwight. You're on with Attorney Connie Rice.
Good morning, Dominique, and thank KBLA for such a great radio station. Happy Mother's Day to you, Attorney Rice, and all the great mothers out there. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. That's all I could say. Thank you so much. You're so right, Attorney Connie Rice. We've got to just show what the Republicans are doing, like the Emmett Till approach. She showed what they did to her son. Otherwise, the press is not going to just believe the truth from us is not going to sound as good as a Republican lie. A Democratic truth is never going to sound as good as a Republican lie. You could all day long. And the Second Amendment, you're so right. These AR-15 murders are based on a lie. If I'm rich, do I get to have a rocket launcher? Do I get to have an armed tank? If I'm a billionaire, can I buy a F-15 fully armed airplane? So this Second Amendment have nothing to do with an AR-15, because you can't buy a rocket launcher, you can't buy a bazooka, and you are so right as far as the Democrats have to just show the truth, just show what happened on January 6th. Just show what the Republicans are doing, white supremacy, racism, opposing democracy. And thank you again. Happy Mother's Day to both of you. Thank you, Connie Rice, for just letting the Democrats just be bold enough to show the truth of what the Republicans are doing. They're not for democracy. And thank you again, and happy Mother's Day again to all you mothers. And thank you so much for speaking up for us, Attorney Connie Rice. I love you. Thank you.
Love you more. We'll get Attorney Connie Rice's response when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Outrage in Egypt over Netflix's Black Cleopatra. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry. The life of Cleopatra VII, Queen of Egypt from 51 to 30 BC, is still captivating even now in 2023. The recent announcement of Netflix's upcoming docuseries, Queen Cleopatra, which casts Black British actress Adele James as its coveted lead, has the Queen's ethnicity as a topic of conversation once again. Narrated by the talented Jada Pinkett Smith, this docuseries will uncover the truth behind Cleopatra's heritage, intellect, and beauty. I know I'll be watching. Will you? Let us know on all of our socials at KBLA 1580. I'm Maisha Cairo, and we've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all of the businesses that tune into KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to a lunch for 10, brought to you by the original Taco Pete's. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to submit your office to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you're just like our staff, putting in many hard, smart working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA 1580 to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week, sponsored by the original Taco Pete's, a black-owned restaurant. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action.
Come join us for a celebration of community, culture, and healing at the I Love Myself Festival, Sunday, May 21st from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Outdoor Pavilion of the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. Yoga, meditation, food, vendors, a kids zone, and a special panelist segment featuring Samantha Smith, Dee Smoke, and Ebony Davis. Performances by Wilson, Skylar Ray, Divas of Compton, Iman Europe, Kalan For Real, and Eric Bellinger. It's all going down Sunday, May 21st at the Outdoor Pavilion of the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Let's come together for a day of fun, celebration, and healing. For more details, contact Project Pitt on social media or text 323-448-5770. The I Love Myself Festival in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month is a free event for community healing and culture. May 21st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Talking with attorney Connie Rice. Dwight from Compton said a whole bunch of stuff. He was talking about the situation the Democrats find themselves in. Democratic truth doesn't sound as good as a Republican lie. But what do you have to say to Dwight calling us out of Compton?
Well, first of all, thank you, Dwight. You were so right on every point you made. Let me tell you how right he is. The actual science backs what he says. If you look at the rate of transmission of a lie on the internet, it is 6 times as fast as a fact, a true fact. So a lie, it's like a lie is around the track before the truth even gets out the blocks. So he's so right about that, and he framed the dysfunction so well. He was talking about the Second Amendment response and how the messaging on that. Congressman Waters was talking about messaging. It goes so much further than messaging. It's understanding the nature of the problem. It's understanding the fight you're in, the kind of fight you're in. And so, take the Second Amendment. Dwight was saying, look, you can't buy an F-16. Why are you allowed to have a weapon of war like an AR-15? There are 15 million AR-15s sold just in the last 2 years. And so you've got folks who were isolated, even more mental illness because of COVID, and folks are coming out, and we've had more mass shootings. We've had over 100 people killed. We've had more people killed than we've had days in the year right now.
Yeah.
So, the sickness is in Dwight. Dwight was talking about how, why can't we make the case? Well, it's the structure again. The politics around there are stuck on stupid. They're stuck on dysfunction. You want to know why? Because the gun manufacturers are making so much money, and the gun manufacturers own the Republican Party and the NRA radicals, because most NRA members agree they want regulations to make guns safer. They want locks. They want magazine controls. They want background checks. They want the whole 80% level. And 75% of the gun owners agree. So this isn't about folks who own guns. They're the ones who have to end this. But Dwight hit on kind of framing the dysfunction. Why are we stuck on stupid? Why can't we solve this? You can't own an F-16. Why are you allowed to own a machine gun? And when you look at the politics that we talked about at the beginning of the hour, it's because of the structured dysfunction that we've done, that we've allowed other folks to do, to kind of rig the system to deliver these insane situations.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm going to keep it moving. I got questions, but I want to make sure all these folks that want to talk to you get a chance to talk to you. Paris, calling us from L.A., you're on with attorney Connie Rice.
Hello, Ms. Connie Rice, and good morning. I wanted your thoughts on the infamous Dred Scott case and the Taney decision. For those that are listening, the infamous quote is, "The black man has no rights, which the white man is bound to respect." So it seems to me that he's admitting that black people did, or he sees them as having rights. They just don't need to respect them. And supposedly the 14th Amendment overturned this, but does his decision, along with the 14th Amendment, sort of create a second-class citizen? And by these sort of like things that are ingrained in not our policy but our Constitution, do you think that we'll ever be able to really be equal if we have these sort of clauses that that the white people before the emancipation had? They already had most of these rules for them, but it seems like we become a second-class citizen to them with the 14th Amendment. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. You're teaching a law school class here. Well, I do think that the Supreme Court justice that you're talking about, when he said there were no rights, African Americans have no rights that white men have to. He wasn't actually saying that African Americans have no rights. And you got to remember that before that was even that frame, when slavery was in, we had zero rights because we weren't considered human. We were considered chattel, which means property. So when you have chattel slavery, the slave is actually equivalent to a cow or a horse. I'll never forget when my father was trying to do his roots research. He had to go back to Alabama, and he and my brother, they went to the state house where to keep all the census records. And my brother said, "Dad, where are you going?" Because my dad was heading toward the census department. My brother Philip said, "Dad, we weren't human. We're in the property section. We're going to be counted with the cows and the pigs." So you're absolutely right. There's been an evolution over time from chattel to second-class citizen, third-class citizen. Then we went back with the reign of terror after the Civil War, and they reinstituted slavery light. And we've been fighting to end apartheid. We ended legal segregation. But right now, Martin Luther King said that in the Civil Rights Revolution in the 50s and 60s, what America agreed to was to end brutality. But the United States never agreed to full equality, never agreed to full political and economic and residential desegregation and integration. And without that fluid integration, we can never access the sources of economic power and political power. So you asked, do I think will we ever get there? Probably not in my lifetime. But my grandmother always said, it doesn't matter what the larger society is never going to treat African Americans the way we should be treated. But we're going to have to claim that for ourselves, because in our minds we are equal, and in our minds we have shown this country what its credo ought to mean. So I think that looking back, I don't want to look back to the Dred Scott case where they're talking about black people have no rights, white people must recognize. Let's look forward, because we do have the 14th Amendment, and that's that part of that framework we talked about earlier. Without those tools, we can't continue to claw our way toward a future. And you want to know something? African Americans, we have most at stake because we're the group that will always be at the bottom. And there are a lot of other groups suffering with us. We got to create an alliance with them. You know, the Asian Americans have been attacked, Jews have been attacked, Muslims have been attacked, women have been attacked. We have to create an alliance, a power alliance that stops the fascist movement that says we're going to make women go back to being barefoot and pregnant. We're going to make African Americans have no voting rights. We have to band together with what I call the e pluribus unum, the multiracial democracy alliance. And that's what Reverend Barber is doing. That's what you saw with Justin Pierce Pearson and Justin Jones and Gloria Johnson, the Tennessee Three that got ejected because they had the nerve to say, stop these mass shootings and get some gun control. So you're seeing that's the kind of alliance that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about needing to have. And if we don't create that kind of alliance, each of our groups will be picked off and we'll all be going to Manzanar.
Great question, Paris. Continuing our conversation, we'll get some final thoughts from Attorney Connie Rice when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Moments like hearing my cat purr good morning mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib. Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
And it has been my pleasure, as always, talking with Attorney Connie Rice, just really setting the urgency of this moment. It seems like great things are happening and really scary things are happening all at once. Just a couple minutes here before Tavis Smiley takes over. Attorney Rice, what would you like to leave us with this morning?
Always have hope. You just fight one battle at a time, but you got to understand the battle you're in. And I'm really proud of the folks you had on calling in. Those are the folks who on the ground level are going to make sure that we keep moving forward. And Dominique, you too. You're the siren for information and strategy. And thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, well, I just try to show up and play a part. And I feel like, on the good side, I mean, you got to at least feel great looking at how the work you've done in the urban peace movement has taken root. I'm here in LA. This is now an institution, and it's being copied, not just in LA, but all over the world. So you've got to feel good about that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm very proud of all of the community folks who pioneered this system. Like I said, all we did was take the stuff to court and take the stuff to the politicians and take the stuff to the police chiefs and make them understand, no, you got to work with these folks because they're the ones who can stop the bullets. They're the ones who can do the gang truces. And the mothers of Watts, the Watts Gang Task Force, and in Chicago, you've got Chicago Cred and so all we do is we kind of be the wind beneath the wings of all the grassroots leaders. And don't give me the credit, give them the credit. And, look, our ancestors faced much worse than we're facing. We're in a huge radical disintegration of old models. But we have a chance to create the new model, the new world order. And so this is an exciting time. It's a terrifying time because there's no rule book. There's no map anymore. We don't have maps anymore. We got GPS. So anyway, I'm very hopeful. Let's get in there and create a new world order because there's room to do it.
Attorney Connie Rice, thank you. Tavis Smiley is up next. History's now, and we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. California's historic effort to address past injustices is moving forward. The state's reparations task force voted Saturday to recommend cash payments to some black residents and a formal apology. Coming after